If you are like myself, a fellow business owner, and you've struggled with figuring out how to get your followers from just hanging out on your profile to actually being a lead in your business, well, the key could be in your Instagram story highlights. So that's what I'm covering in today's video, how to use Instagram story highlights to actually grow your business. And stay tuned until the end. I'm going to share a top secret hack that you might not know about highlights that will help you track to see who is a new potential lead and how to ultimately make more sales in your business. So if you're in for this topic, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you don't miss any of my future trainings. I'm Elise Darma, and I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs like yourself grow their business through the world's #1 social media app, Instagram. And today we are covering Instagram highlights for your business. Before I dive into the strategy of Instagram highlights, let's first cover what they are. So highlights are those circle bubble thingies that live right underneath your bio and right on top of your feed. What these are saved Instagram stories. So if you're familiar with Instagram stories, you know that they expire after 24 hours. But hey, sometimes we make really good stories and there's really high value in those stories and we don't want them to disappear. We want to save them permanently on our profile. Enter highlights. That's what highlights are designed for. They allow you to save Instagram stories directly to your profile for as long as you want. You can delete the highlight whenever you want or let it live there forever. In terms of limitations, there is no limit for how many highlights you can have on your profile, so you can go crazy. But there is a limit of only 100 stories that can be in one highlight, so something to keep in mind. Let's get into the strategy behind your highlights. So my very first and #1 tip for how to use highlights for your business is to treat highlights as if it is your website. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a business, you typically have a website, and usually there's a certain navigation menu that you have at the very top of your website. I'm talking things like home, about, services, blog, content, portfolio, hire me, results, all those kind of titles. Now notice that they are super short and super valuable to someone who's looking for that type of content. These are the type of things you want to save to your profile as highlights. So if you're just getting started with highlights, I would first look at your website navigation menu and replicate those topics. You might be able to find old Instagram stories in your archive that already touch on those topics, or you might have to get to work and make new Instagram stories that cover those topics, which you'll then share as a new highlight on your profile. So just so we're clear, here are the top 5 to maybe 8 highlights you should have right now on your profile. You should have an About Me highlight, Hire Me or Work With Me. FAQ is a really great highlight to have so you can answer frequently asked questions. Tips is really great for your industry as well. Contact Me, a lot of times we make it hard for someone to get in touch, so have a Contact Me highlight. And you also want to have a results or case studies or portfolio type of highlight. This is where you show the results that your products or your services have gotten for your customers. Real results and real customers, well, that is a great combination for someone to go from lurker to warm lead for your business. The second tip about Instagram highlights for business is to choose your covers wisely. So remember, a highlight is a saved collection of multiple stories, right? So you want to choose one cover that's going to sum up that highlight really well. You have a couple options here. You can choose one of the screenshots that Instagram pulls from one of your stories in your highlight. You can choose a different image from your camera roll. Or if you want to be really crafty, you can create a custom branded cover image in something like Canva or Photoshop, save it to your phone's camera roll, and then upload that as your cover image. The key here is to keep the covers relevant to that highlights topic and to make them legible. Sometimes people like to add text to the cover image, but remember, this is a very, very small space on Instagram. So if you add a lot of text or if it's a hard font to read, people aren't going to be able to read that at all. Now, whether to make your cover images branded or just use a screenshot, that's totally up to you. When highlights first came out, it was really trendy and really hot to have a branded cover image. But these days, people are loving anything that's raw and real. So I personally, right now, have just screenshots for my highlight cover images, and that works for me and my brand. So there's no wrong way, it's totally up to you. The third tip for using highlights for business is to keep your titles short. Now you have a very small space here of adding text to name your highlights. And if the word is too long, Instagram's just going to cut it off and give you the old ... So if you can, choose one succinct word for the name of each of your highlights. Are you ready for my hack on how you can use highlights to get more leads? I bet you are. Here it is. Once you've created that set of stories and you've saved it as a highlight on your profile, what you're going to notice is that your views are slowly going to creep up, especially as you drive people to check out that highlight on your profile. I've had highlights that when I saved them, they were maybe at 500 views, and now they're at 1,000 plus views. So what that tells me is people are going to them and viewing them long after the fact, after I created them. How you can use this for your business is you can check in on your highlight stats and see who is viewing them. Well, that was a great feature up until the point where Instagram just took it away. So now you'll no longer be able to see an updated list of viewers who are looking at your highlight after the story expires. But I do have a workaround. So let me pull up in my phone so I can show you exactly what I have in mind. So now when you're building out a highlight, you can design it so that the last story in the highlight is a direct call to action for someone to DM you. So you can literally put an arrow down at the bottom and that's going to look like a comment box to the viewer. Let me show you. I'm looking at my profile from another account and let's look at my bootcamp highlight. So you can see this was from a week ago, so already expired, but my swipe ups still work, which is fantastic. And I still have the send message box down at the bottom. So once you craft your highlight, what you want to do is make the last story a very clear call to action as to what they should do. So here I'm saying, I'm sitting here for 3 hours taking your questions. So I can literally respond after and say, hey Elise, I have a question about the boot camp. And now I have just replied to an old highlight story that is going to create a new DM thread. Yay! Creating that direct thread with them through a direct message is a great way to intentionally engage with your audience, have them get to know you a little better, and then take that next step in your business, whether that's jumping on a phone call with you or buying your product or service. I've created an entire video on how to sell through the direct messages right here, so go ahead and check that out. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hire me as your coach to continue to use Instagram for your business, I invite you to check out the Instagram Funnel Bootcamp. The link is right below this video. And the Funnel Bootcamp is where me and my team coach you on your specific business so that Instagram becomes the next revenue stream in your business. How great would that be if Instagram becomes a way that you generate leads and sales every day? That's exactly what we cover in the Instagram Funnel Bootcamp, so head to the link right below this video to check it out. To ease in revenue, I'll see you in the next video. Oh, my back. Almost done. Okay, let's get into strategy for your highlights, shall we?